a person with good self-leadership makes people want to be in their vicinity, whilst a bad leader well, they could be a good leader, but they haven't got good self-leadership. They still have to tell people what to do. They still have to ask people to come. That just doesn't happen with a person with great self-leadership skills in the same way.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today David J.P. Phillips. David is a keynote speaker, founder of davidjpphillips.com, creator of WOW, the magical science of storytelling in death by PowerPoint. He delivers training in self-leadership, communication, and presentation skills on a global basis in over 16 countries. His focus is always based on the latest research in neurology, psychology, and biology, conducted either through an entertaining seminar or a demanding and challenging training course over 2 to 4 days. He is also the author of the book Successful Presentations. We're absolutely thrilled to have someone of his stature join us today at peopleHum. Welcome, David. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, David, please do tell us a bit about your work as the founder and CEO of David J.P. Phillips.
Wow, I spend a lot of my time building new content. My passion in life is making other people grow, giving them opportunities to become better versions of themselves. Mm-hmm. And my mind can just not stop thinking about that. And I spend a lot of time getting that content out there, either in my jpuniversity.com or on LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. I do a lot of social media.
Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. It's wonderful when you have that gift of giving to people, and I'm sure that it reflects in everything that you do. That's wonderful. Yeah. So, David, self-leadership is a concept that you've often spoken about. So, how do you think leaders can inculcate this attribute?
Well, I believe that a person who can lead themselves, you can see them on a distance, what they look like, how they walk and how they talk and how they're comfortable with their own words and their own behavior. And they're not moved that much by what other people say to them. If they're criticized, they don't take that too hard. They're just solid. And people like to be around those people. So we're attracted to those people. We're drawn to those people. And therefore, they become natural leaders without even having to do anything. So to me, a person with good self-leadership makes people want to be in their vicinity, whilst a bad leader they could be a good leader, but they haven't got good self-leadership. They still have to tell people what to do. They still have to ask people to come. That just doesn't happen with a person with great self-leadership skills in the same way.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, we're always attracted towards people who have these qualities. But I kid you not, I did not think of this as self-leadership per se. I just thought of these people as poised and, they knew what they wanted. But I never thought of these people as some people who have self-leadership. And at the same time, I would also like to add that people who look to lead others cannot do so unless they are good self-leaders. So that's a wonderful insight. Thank you. So David, we're also very intrigued to learn your take on how neurology, psychology, and biology, like you mentioned earlier, helps us in understanding our employees better.
That's a very broad question. I could probably spend a couple of days answering that question. But at the end of the day, in my talk on the magical science of storytelling, I talk about a biological cocktail that we all have in our brain. We have a certain balance of neurotransmitters called oxytocin, and dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin, and you've got testosterone, and estrogen, and progesterone, and so on. You've got loads of them. And they're not only just neurotransmitters, they're hormones as well. Now, the thing is with this is that depending on what kind of cocktail you have of this, what kind of mix you have in them, you feel differently. So I talk about the devil's cocktail, where you have high levels of stress reaction hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And if you've got that cocktail in you, you feel pissed off and you feel angry and you say no to things that you normally say yes to.
Yeah.
But if you have the angel's cocktail, which is the good versions of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine and endorphins, you feel beautiful. You look beautiful. And you say beautiful things. And you behave nicely. And you feel great. And in a company, if you keep giving your employees devil's cocktails only, like stressing them with deadlines and hurtful tasks and asking them to do things they don't want to do, that will start to spread among the employees, and they'll be giving each other devil's cocktails. And science have showed us that people with high stress levels, they are worse at taking decisions, their creativity is down, their holistic thinking is down, they don't think outside of the box. There's so many drawbacks to giving people devil's cocktails. So I'd say as a leader, as a manager, of course having deadlines and of course being thorough, but once in a while, see to that you give them angels cocktails.
That's amazing, absolutely inspiring, and you've given us a lot to think about. Thank you. So, what according to you is the most important aspect in communication, and how can one develop confidence along the way?
I would say in presentations and public speaking, how can you gain confidence? Well, the thing with confidence is that it can be seen as a per skill thing. So if you start playing badminton and you're not very good at it, maybe you should do cricket. And you do a lot of cricket, don't you? Or what's that? You play cricket in India, don't
Yes,
you? Yeah.
we do.
Okay, so you start playing cricket and you're pretty good at it. So you get a win. And then what happens then is that testosterone is released into your body and it affirms the win. You're like, maybe I'm good at this. And then you win another time, and you do that 100 times and you're like, I own this stuff. That does not mean that you just became confident in public speaking.
Yeah.
Okay? So what you then need to do in public speaking is the same thing. You need to give yourself small wins. You have to get up there, get on stage and start small. Maybe you start with 2 people, maybe with 4, maybe with 10. But you don't throw yourself into a TED talk the first thing you do, because then you'll shoot your confidence into the ground. So start small, build up, gain the confidence through victories, small victories. And very importantly, you shouldn't be self-critical. So when you get a win, pat yourself on the shoulder and you said, that was awesome. Now I built my confidence. That was awesome. Now I built my confidence. And you keep on doing that. And you keep on learning the skill. And then you'll become more confident.
I love how you mentioned that thing about small wins, because often when we're trying to be great at something, it's very difficult to keep track of these small wins and actually appreciate and acknowledge them. So that's a wonderful thing to remember along the way. And I'm sure that all of our viewers and listeners right now are relating to this a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, David, do you have a quote that defines your feelings the best way about the future of work, the workplace, and you?
If I have a what? A code?
A quote, yes.
We have a saying in the company which goes, skills, not talent. And a lot of people go around thinking that people are born with a talent to become a good cricket player, good piano player, whatever. But there's very little proof that we genetically were born into a talent. There are very few people that, if so, has maybe some kind of advantage when it comes to certain things in life. But 99.99% of the cases in life is just about skill. It's a skill to be a good partner. It's a skill to be a good parent. It's a skill to be a good public speaker. It's a skill to be good at badminton. It's a skill to be good at languages. It's a skill to be good at maths, and so on and so forth. So whatever you want to be good at in life, just get down there, get those victories, get those wins, build that confidence in that particular skill, and you'll get where you want. Now, I've got a follow-up answer to a question that you asked, because I think some people listening to this now, they're going like, yes, but the angel's cocktail, how on earth do you even create an angel's cocktail, David? So I'll give you a quick answer on that. Okay, so we'll take serotonin. You can give yourself serotonin by giving yourself self-love and self-compliments and remove your self-criticism. You can give serotonin to other people by giving them compliments and including them into social situations. Boom, finished. And then we go to oxytocin. How can you create that in yourself? Well, you can, for instance, you can have a dog. By looking into the dog's eyes, oxytocin is created. You can have a pet of any kind, and oxytocin will be created when you share time together. When you get into a hot shower or under a warm cover, oxytocin is released. You can give oxytocin to others by giving them a hug, giving them a kiss if it's your partner, by being a good listener, and by being grateful. All of those things creates oxytocin. And then finally, we can do dopamine. There's loads of these, but let's just do 3. Dopamine is a very interesting neurotransmitter because we need it. And all of you listening to this, you're probably addicted to dopamine. You see, because you need dopamine. As soon as you find what I'm saying boring, you'll pick up your phone and you look at it because you just needed dopamine. You needed a hit. You needed to drug yourself. It's pretty sad, but that's actually the case in so many people's lives. They eat sugar, or they look at TV shows, or they look at social media in order to get that hit of dopamine. Now, how do you get good dopamine into your body? The good stuff. You do real things, my friend. You do real things. You learn things like you're doing now. You're listening to this pod and you're learning things. This is giving you dopamine. You read a book, you get dopamine. You have a hobby, that gives you dopamine. And you talk to people, you take walks, you go to the gym, all that gives good dopamine. So you see there's a bad version and a good version. And it's the good version we want in the angel's cocktail. Anyhow, that was just a quick little injection of knowledge on that.
That was definitely very interesting. And I also love what you said about skill and talent, because a lot of people seem to forget the thin line between that and sort of mix the two things. And that always ends up putting us in a situation where we worry about why, we're not succeeding enough or doing as well enough as we thought we would.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. Absolutely. You've given us a lot to think about today, David. I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It was good to be here.
Okay, great.